there. My name is Meg Alexander, and I am, as always, honored and excited to get to be hosting another Summit Series session. Now, before we dive into today's topic, we're going to be talking about from repetition to remarkable, how AI is transforming the way we work. Now, this session is made possible by Vizient, and I'm really excited to introduce you to our speaker and get started with today's event. Real quick, in case anybody's wondering, if you are curious at all about our code of conduct, we'll share that in the chat. We will also share the code that you would need to earn credits for SHRM, or Society of Human Resource Managers. And if you've got any other questions there, please feel free to ask in the chat, or you can email us at hi@powertofly.com. All right, now I'm incredibly excited to introduce y'all to Rachael Glassberg. Now, she is a senior analyst in sales analytics and operations for Vizient. She's also the chair of Beacon at Vizient. Now, with a passion for transforming data into meaningful action, Rachael Glassberg helps organizations turn insight into impact. As a senior analyst at Provista, which is a Vizient company, she leads efforts to streamline operations, improve processes, and automate reporting, empowering their sales teams with scalable, efficient solutions. Rachael proudly serves as Vizient's AI Champion for Analysts, where she pilots and promotes the use of generative AI tools to enhance productivity and drive innovation. She also chairs Beacon at Vizient, an employee network that fosters inclusion for individuals with disabilities, caregivers, those navigating mental health challenges, as well as neurodivergent colleagues. Rachael, I am incredibly excited to welcome you to the stage today. What else would you like our audience members to know about you before we dive into questions?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And honestly, just a fun fact about me is I am an avid cruiser. I live in Florida, and so the ocean's not that far away. And if I can hop on one of those cruise ships, that's likely where you'll find me. So
Oh,
I
I
love
love that. Any place that you've gone that was especially your favorite?
Well, I was so lucky to be able to go on a European cruise just a couple of years back. And so that was definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Specifically, I'd say Norway. If anyone hasn't been to Norway, oh my goodness, go to the fjords. It is magical.
Can't wait. I've been to Iceland, but not Norway, so I'll have to add that to the list. All
Awesome.
right. So we are here, obviously, on behalf of Vizient, and so we're really excited to kind of dive into some of the ways that AI can really transform how we work. In terms of Vizient, how has Vizient given you the opportunity to explore generative AI within your current role?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with my role, any analyst role really, we can have so many different repetitive manual tasks. And things like maybe creating reports, researching, documenting SOPs, or even analyzing various metrics. And like many of us probably have thought, there has to be a better way of doing this, right? And that honestly spiked my curiosity of getting involved with generative AI. And from there, once I started using it to automate those manual tasks, I was able to save so much time and time to help me be more strategic in other ways. So, avoiding all those manual tasks that I have to get done, I was able to look into things and even some new initiatives that I was never able to have the capacity for prior. And so that was something that my role has given me that green space for, that I feel like others should be able to have that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. And that's one of the things that I tend to lean on the most when everybody's like, oh, AI, the robots, they're coming for our jobs. And it's like, are they, or are they coming for the boring ones first? Like, what,
Right.
let's see. Let's see how much of our, kind of stuff we can take off of our plate, work smarter, not harder. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love this. Okay, so obviously you have tried to integrate AI into your workspace because Vizient is supportive in this. How
Mhm.
has AI impacted your daily responsibilities, your workflows, like this kind of stuff that you do day in, day out? Where is that like immediate impact for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been able to find areas such as generating meeting notes or helping me navigate. We've all received the email chain 10 emails deep. and you go and you're trying to think, geez, how do I go and figure out what is asked of me, what has already been completed, and what was just the general information that we needed from this email chain. AI has helped me be able to do that and eliminate all of these additional time spent on simple tasks like that. It's also helped me go and research things, honestly act as a Google replacement. I have went and saved so much time by using AI instead of Google, as I've been able to streamline what I need out of my output and provide that additional context. So again, everything is relating back to that time savings. And so honestly, I would say it has saved me hours each week, which in my eyes is such a huge win. That's allowed me to have more space for strategic work. And honestly, I'll actually speak to that in a couple of questions for now, but or later if you ask me, but around just automations and creating custom tools to help with those processes.
Well, actually, I think that's the next thing we're going to talk about. We want to talk about some of the measurable benefits that you've seen since integrating generative AI into your work. So when you're looking at measuring things, you're talking about like hours saved. What does that calculate into, or what have you seen thus far?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the time savings, honestly, it varies by task. So some of the things that I've been able to work on have been, I alluded to this previous, researching terms. So in my specific area, and I feel like a lot of other groups as well, we all have so much knowledge. And
Mhm.
it is so hard to train individuals on all this knowledge, no matter if it's a new hire, an intern, maybe it's an experienced employee, and we're working on collaboration, and you just need to get on the same level as other individuals. That can be so hard and it can be taxing when going into a new project. And so I've been able to work on things like creating a chatbot of sorts where it acts as that knowledge repository to serve and remember all of their knowledge. It really brings everyone together, and that honestly saves so much time, and really increases that collaboration, which I think so many teams really want to foster. Another thing that I would say, that some of these custom tools that I've worked on has really reduced my mental load, of switching back and forth between tasks. So another one that I've been able to do is create a tool that helps me format notes, messy notes, and make them into polished newspaper-like headlines. And honestly, that just allows me to sit, take 10, 15 minutes to speak through what I need to talk through, and it documents it for me. And it really allows me to save that time and spend it in just that 10 minutes and then go to another task and be more efficient, and mindful in the next thing I'm doing.
Yeah. And I love the collaboration aspect because, you have one person, let's obviously this isn't the case, but let's say you've got a room full of 10 people, you've got one person that's using ChatGPT or Claude, whatever it is
Mhm.
your robot of choice. But one person is using that to try and, automate or streamline or save time or whatever. Even if nobody else on that team picks up ChatGPT and starts using it on their own, via that person is saving their own time, but when y'all are collaborating, you're multiplying the amount of time saved. So it
Right.
really is like it benefits everyone and it behooves everyone to try and kind of jump on parts of this. So that way, like, even if you're not the Chat GPT expert, you are on board, you understand how this all works, and you can then utilize it if you need to for your benefit. So I think
Absolutely.
that's really good. Yeah. Have you made any like custom GPTs or tools to help support your work? Obviously, like everybody knows of some of the bigger ones, but have you made any that are custom just for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned a couple just a few minutes ago, but I've created four in total, that have benefited my team. I as an analyst serve a sales team. And so a lot of my tools revolve around their needs and allowing them to be more efficient in their daily activities. So one of which is a research assistant, and it goes and searches the web for organizational data and summarizes things like financials, location, size, scope, and even leadership. And it goes and acts as that Google replacement that I mentioned earlier. And instead of going and, let's be honest, right? We may go and say, oh, Mayo Clinic or whatever your local medical center is. Where is this located? Who is the CEO? All of this information. Instead of going on their website, going through all these articles, all these tabs, it takes all of that and creates a structured template in just a matter of a couple seconds and maybe 30 seconds. And it has saved so much time. It's allowed people to find information that they weren't able to find previously. And it does all of this with reputable sources that are 5 years or newer. So that has been such a huge win for our team. I mentioned about our training tool, which I've been calling our training ecosystem. And so that has really enhanced that collaboration that I had mentioned previously, as well as that note taker tool, which again has allowed myself as well as others save time on tasks that normally would have taken hours to just a couple of minutes. So again, I feel like the through line of this whole conversation that we're having here is time savings to help us be able to get involved in other things that maybe we wouldn't have been able to get involved in previously.
No, I very much appreciate that. The idea of the research assistant honestly sounds so incredibly cool. I'm loving this. The closest I have is my husband and I did a full Star Wars rewatch and we used ChatGPT to answer all of our like burning nerd questions. So
Oh
like
my gosh.
it was so fun. Seriously, by the time we got to like the end of, I don't even know, Force Awakens or whatever, by the time we got all the way to the end, like we had asked some crazy questions about like, well, where does Luke lose his lightsaber and how does Maz, what's her face, get it back? And how does
Oh
this,
my gosh.
it was so awesome. And we didn't have to go, like you said, you didn't have to go around and click 87 sites to like this fan site and that blog and no, his is contradicted by this person and blah, blah. But truly it was, and we just used it for Star Wars, like, right? Like there are much more
Right.
productive, like beneficial ways to use this for humanity. But yeah, I mean, like if you have not worked with it before, pick something weird, pick something random that interests you and ask it to
Oh,
talk to you about it.
for
Because
sure. I do it all
it's
the time at home. I'll do it on creating a recipe because I just never prepare. And so I'll just tell it what's in my pantry and or my refrigerator, and it gives me a nice recipe. But I love the Star Wars thing. I'll have to tell my husband that. Fun fact, my son's middle name is Solo after Han Solo. So we are big Star Wars people in this household.
love it. Oh, I love that so much. Okay. All right. So to get us back on track with our AI, what advice would you give someone who is hesitant to try generative AI? I was like this for a very long time, lots
Yeah.
of ridiculous reasons. But for you, what advice do you give if you meet somebody who's like, oh, scary? What do you say?
Yeah, honestly, I would say start small and think of it like a conversation. Imagine like you're having a text conversation with somebody. Don't think of it like a computer or a command line. You don't have to be technical to benefit from this tool. And we just talked about that, right? You used it for Star Wars. I use it at home for recipes for dinner. It's not a big deal. And so I think when we go and remove that technical aspect of it, people can then start to see the benefits from it in various ways, and it's less daunting. So honestly, I just say just ask it to help you with a task that you're already doing. Maybe it's writing a summary or outlining a plan or creating a recipe or whatever it may be, and see how easy it is to start. See how much easier it is to do those things. And once you go and get that mindset, then the more context you add to it, the better your results will be. And ultimately, I think that will help increase your adoption rate of this great tool. So I would say just start small and add to it.
Like this. Now, I have a theory. I wonder if you agree with it. Do
Okay.
you think part of the reason people are hesitant to try AI comes from the fact that it's almost immediately everybody was like, oh, and we're going to use it at work too? Because I'm thinking of like Facebook is not a great example because it's too
Mm,
early for social media, but I'm thinking like Instagram, TikTok, people pick these things up like fast, and it's not really something that they're like, oh, but it's new and I don't know. I
mhm.
think it might be because it like impedes on our working lives. Have you seen anything like this? Like, are people hesitant to use it? Have you seen people hesitant to use it at work that are like, oh yeah, this is fine, but like, why would I do it at work?
Yeah, I think it depends on how that person has received the information. I feel like a lot of people have been presented it as I think you alluded to this earlier, almost like a replacement of us, and that's not what it is. I see it more so as a productivity tool, as a tool that can help us in our daily activities rather than replace us. It honestly gives us back time to be creative, be innovative. And so I think once you go and you shift that mindset and understand where and how this tool can be beneficial, it really will, I think, remove that skeptic nature that individuals may have and allow you to be more curious on what you can achieve by using this
Yeah,
tool.
I like that. Less of a fear scarcity mindset and more of a like, well, what's it going to do for me? What can it do for me?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Okay. Has your perception about AI changed since you started using it?
Yes, it has. Similar to you, I would say I was minorly skeptic. I honestly saw it and was scared about just what it was going to do for across the organization, across everything, really. But when I went and understood the mindset that I had to have and the benefits that it could provide to me, I honestly couldn't imagine my life without it. A leader of mine actually said the other day, could you imagine life without the internet? And we went and I went and responded, honestly, I can't imagine my life without generative AI because it has just provided me so many just opportunities that I never would have been able to achieve without this tool.
Absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you roughly?
I am going to be 29 on the 21st.
Okay. Yeah. Because as I was thinking to myself, you were like, well, could you live without the internet? And I'm 39 this year, and I remember pretty
Yeah,
strongly what it was like before. And I still can't imagine what it would be like without internet. Like I remember what it was like, and it was not super great, y'all. Like it was
you're
there, it
right.
was a bizarre time. Yeah. So, I mean, even just from a connectivity standpoint, like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's wild. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it comes from the idea that a lot of people that are facing a potential change to their working lives because of this were probably not the same people that were facing a potential change to their working lives at the advent of the internet, or at least maybe they're not in the same spots. And so I think it is we kind of need to remember, like, yeah, we're at the advent of the beginning of the internet. We're all holding abacuses, and calculators are rolling off the assembly line, and everybody's scared, but it's okay, it's fine. Unless just counting things by hand is your passion, I think your job will probably still be fine. Yeah, okay, all right, now that we've gotten way off again. um so and truly, y'all, if your perspective about AI changed, share that in the chat. I know this is pre-recorded, but share it in the chat, y'all. I want to see what's changed your mind and how it's changed over the years. Okay, do you think has generative AI impacted any of your employee belonging or inclusion work that y'all are involved in? I know that you are in charge of Beacon at Vizient. So what would you say the impact on employee belonging has been through generative AI?
Yes. So, as one of the leaders of Beacon and the areas that we serve, I know you mentioned them at the beginning of the call, but we support caregivers, individuals with disabilities, those experiencing mental health and neurodivergent needs, and as well as allies, right? And so, within our what we call our four pillars, they AI has been able to provide our ability to access and be more aware of these groups. So we can go and create more accessible content. We can scale our programming and support our teammates and our members in ways that we weren't previously aware of, because it's all been out based off of our why and what has driven us to join this group. But by going and leveraging AI, it's been able to make us aware of things that we weren't previously aware of just because of our lack of knowledge, which I think has been great from a leader perspective, so that we can go and increase our programming, and understand that everyone is different, and that's wonderful. And it's honestly been a game changer to allow us to increase that belonging, increase that inclusion. Which I just can't wait to see what more's come in the future with all of that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, as you're talking about it, I'm very well situated within the neurodivergent community for like, oh my gosh, so many diagnoses. But I absolutely love the idea of bridging well, it's not necessarily a language gap, but bridging that gap of like, hey, this is what works for me and not that. Part
Mhm.
of what it helps with for me or for my husband as well is like kind of giving you a starting point, right? So like I've gone in there when he was changing jobs and been like, hey, what are some reasonable accommodations you could ask for if you have ADHD and you know that you're going to have to work in a very high distraction environment. So what kind of things can we do? And it doesn't obviously doesn't write the thing for you. It does, but it doesn't sound like you know what I mean? But it gives you
Sure.
that really great jumping off point. And I think that's really incredibly helpful when you're talking to neurotypical people who just by virtue of their brain style do not understand what's not connecting. So I love that there's kind of a way to bring in that knowledge and benefit from that shared knowledge without
Right.
needing to be an expert in this yourself.
Absolutely. And I would say, even going off of that further, if you, let's say, using your example about your husband and him acquiring a new job, if he used that to create a message to his new employee or employer, and the employer is, as we just said, neurotypical, they could use ChatGPT to go and interpret the message and understand what they truly need, to be most successful in their role. And I think that that honestly helps us all become on that same playing field and provide as much opportunities to us as possible without leaving individuals out, even if it's unintentional. So I think that's great, and just another way to use this great resource.
Absolutely. Okay. Are How do you, all right, one of the things that I wanted to touch on, just like real briefly, was some of the like ethical and responsible use of generative AI. This is something that I think is becoming more and more of a thing. I think the issue gets a little confusing when we move from things like art into writing, because I feel like there's a
Mm.
disconnect there. But how do y'all ensure that you're using this responsibly and ethically when it's not the Wild West, but there's sort of no rules just yet. Like people aren't quite sure where the boundaries might be on this. So how do you ensure that you're using it responsibly?
Yeah. So, firstly, at Vizient, we have an enterprise license. So, we can only use that enterprise license and input any confidential information into our enterprise account. We cannot go and use it externally. So, I would first just stress everyone, if you do have an enterprise license, make sure that you're on that license, because I have heard it times out. But from that, I would honestly just say, take the output with a grain of salt. Go and understand that, like with any conversation, Imagine again, like you're talking back and forth with an intern, a new hire, just any person. You're going to go and have that back and forth. Understand that there will be the back and forth. You will have to iterate. And honestly, one of my colleagues said it perfectly. It's a starting point and not a final draft. And if we go and understand that mindset, I feel like we understand that this is just a tool. It's a resource that we can use to help assist us, and it doesn't replace our human touch. And so, honestly, yes, sometimes your formatting will be off. I'm sure we've all seen those M dashes, those long dashes in the text, or your icons that maybe you wouldn't normally use, or even you even mentioned it, it doesn't quite sound like you. All of these things don't replace you. And that's where you need to come in and you need to edit, you need to refine to make it you. And in essence, yes, AI is a powerful tool, but it still requires your human oversight to ensure that it is used ethically and responsibly, and just validate everything, no matter if it's just text or if it's data or if it's names, whatever it may be, validate it, iterate, edit, and then use the output.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What do you think? This is a bit of a selfish question for me. I was really interested in this one. What has been the biggest learning curve in adopting generative AI?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this a bit earlier, but I would say my biggest learning curve personally was changing my mindset. And the mindset that I'm talking about is how to approach the input that you add into ChatGPT when you go and you first start your conversation. Going and having the mindset of how to approach that, it takes a second to understand how would be the most beneficial way, and ultimately the way that causes the least amount of back and forth, right? Because it can be frustrating sometimes when you start off and you're messaging and then it doesn't give you the right thing, and then you message again, and then you start getting increasingly more and more frustrated, and then you start yelling at your computer and you're like, I don't think it hears me. I don't think it can
You've been
respond
spying
back.
on me? Come on
Yeah.
now.
So I would honestly just say, as I said earlier, start small. Understand kind of how it works and the words and phrases that it uses to interpret you and what your outcome is. Sometimes it's better to play around and then start a new chat and start again. Once you get that mindset of how it works, I think then you can really see how beneficial this tool is. I've even asked, pro tip, I ask it to interpret things for me all the time, or tell me what it would call a certain thing, because ChatGPT goes and has certain words or phrases that they identify something as that maybe we wouldn't use in our normal vocabulary. So leveraging ChatGPT to help you teach yourself ChatGPT is a pro tip. Definitely recommend.
I love this. I love this idea of like going into GPT and being like, here's my job and what I do. How can I use you to fill in the blank? Save time,
Exactly.
get this part that I hate done better, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful. I love this life hack. Love this. Okay. All right, we are almost out of time today, but in the last couple minutes we have, are there any final thoughts? Anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to share with the audience?
Uh, I mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. AI isn't just about efficiency, it's about the opportunities that it gives you, increasing those opportunities. Generative AI has allowed me to shift from being reactive in my work to proactive, and focus on more collaboration efforts, innovation efforts, and honestly support my team in ways that I never imagined. It's really opened me up and allow me to understand that AI has become more of a tool to me but it's almost really become like a teammate. And the way that I think of it is let AI do the repetitive so that each of us can do the remarkable. And honestly, if we have that mindset, I think that we can all accomplish some great things.
Yes. Oh, oh, I love this so much. Okay. Now, I know that you're here today on behalf of Vizient, so thank you, Vizient, for loaning us Rachel for the day. I did want to ask a couple things about Vizient. So you have been with the company for a few years now. If you had to pick something, what is the thing that keeps you at Vizient? Is there anything that comes to mind that's like Taco Tuesdays in the lunchroom, my killer parking spot right by the back door? Maybe it's the programming y'all do at Beacon. What is the thing that keeps you at Vizient?
Honestly, I would probably say the networking and innovation opportunities. If it wasn't for opportunities like this, which I was able to gather through Beacon, or just AI as a whole, I have gathered so many networking opportunities from just being involved in AI that I am just so grateful that Vizient has allowed myself and others like me to be involved in various things outside of our day job and gives us the thumbs up for doing it. So I know that other organizations may not do that, but I'm so grateful to be in an organization that allows us to have that green space and be involved in things that maybe we wouldn't have the opportunity to be involved in as it relates to our day job.
Oh, yeah, excellent reason. Excellent. Thank you, Rachel, so much. That's going to be it for us for time today. But Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and all your time with us